If you are
Okay.
waiting for Jose Manuel, then you can log out, and I'll see you in 1 hour because again, daylight saving time. Jose Manuel is also in Mexico, and he's also here in
Oh,
Monterrey, and so that's why
oh my God. Okay.
the
I was like,
Mexicans are in the same time zone. That is different than all of you guys.
yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, but
It's okay. All right, I'll see you
back in an
later.
hour.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
It's
Bye.
an hour. So, bye, guys.
All right. Okay, so Allie, what's up?
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm a sophomore.
All right. And Elizabeth?
I'm Lizzie. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I'm a junior.
All right. And Charlotte?
Hi, I'm in Newfoundland, New Jersey, but I live in New York City. We're like quarantining away from the city though, because everything's so crazy.
Mhm.
But I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I'm a senior.
Sarah, do you and Lizzie know each other?
No, we actually just met through our DOA, but we've been talking a little bit since it's been fun to kind of coordinate.
All right. That's cool. Farah?
My name is Farah. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I'm a junior.
The three of you?
Yeah, a lot of Seattle.
Wow. Very cool.
Wow.
Okay. And so this is Denisse. And maybe Denisse, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for signing up. I live in Monterrey, Mexico. I've been with CEMEX for almost 15 years. I studied international relations and then a master in public policy and public administration here in Mexico. And I started my career in CEMEX by doing an internship in the UK. And most of my career, I was in HR, in culture and leadership development, and shaping our leaders' career path. Then I decided to make a career change within CEMEX when the corporate social responsibility area opened globally. We've been really strong in Latin America, but 3 years ago we went global. So I've been with this area particularly responsible for integrating the Sustainable Development Goals in our strategy, communication, internal and external. And also I am responsible of our diversity and inclusion strategy for employees as part of my development. Because of my HR background, I decided to stay with this as additional. And in the communities, I am responsible for the women economic empowerment strategy and how we empower women in the communities where we live and operate. So that's a very brief background on how I am here at CEMEX. And please go ahead if you have any questions regarding on why did I choose, why I study, and how each life decision led me to one another or on my current work, please go ahead.
All right. Who would like to start? No pressure.
I can start.
All right.
Thank you.
So my question is, what inspired you to be part of the responsible business team at CEMEX and lead the UN SDGs and Global Volunteering Program?
Thank you, Farah. One of my life missions is to help people. In HR, I had the opportunity to help people within the company, and my role was very, very connected to our employees globally, not only here in Mexico where our corporate headquarters are. And then I decided that what I studied, the international relations, the public policy, and public administration, really is in my heart. And when this area opened globally, I applied and I said, I want to help people in society. We want to improve the quality of life and the well-being of people that live in the communities. And that's why I decided to make a career change. And we started analyzing processes. And one thing is that volunteering was being done in CEMEX, but there was not institutional guidelines. Each country did it as they thought it was best for them, but it didn't contribute to our purpose of building a better future. So last year, I developed a global program called CEMEX Unite, which has our values as a foundation, and that's working as one CEMEX with integrity. And now all of our operations are volunteering under this same umbrella. And it's not just hands-on volunteering to go paint a school or build a home, which is connected to our core, but also skilled volunteering. And that's giving online classes or sharing your life experiences or mentoring or coaching. So I think my HR background helped me a lot to build this program because it's really connected to our company, to our employees' purpose and intent to stay in the company. I hope that answered your question.
I have a question. So, what does your daily life look like? Like, do you collaborate with people in your area, or more people like around the world?
I collaborate with people from the different functional areas within corporate offices. We have about 20 functional areas, from finance, from trading, from planning, communication, HR. So my role here at corporate is how to connect our areas, but I do have communication with people in all of the countries in which we operate when we do volunteer, for example. So I'm responsible to connecting with our regions. We're based in US and Mexico, South America, Europe, and in Africa we are in Egypt, and then we are also in Asia and the Middle East, in the Emirates, in Israel, and the Philippines. So thank you. That's really what I love about my job. I love connecting with people around the world.
Anybody else? You guys can just jump in.
I have another question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My question was a little bit similar to Farah's, but I read in your kind of description that you talked about of your job, that you talked about the Sustainable Development Goals. So I was just kind of wondering how you implement those goals in your work in a kind of direct way, and also where do you kind of see our progress on these goals right now?
How we did it, and I'm gonna give you like the technical brief background. We used a guide that the consulting firm PwC made with the UN Global Compact with the United Nations, and this guide is how the private sector can contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Because as you might know, these were created by governments. These governments cannot do this alone. They need private sector. They need NGOs. They need the people. So this guide was made particularly for us, for the private sector. I read that guide. It's really good. It's called Analysis of Goals and Targets from the United Nations. You have a chance to read it. It's really practical, and you can integrate it to your day-to-day life in the companies and how we measure our progress towards our day-to-day business in financial and non-financial KPIs. So we integrated this guide. We also work together with PwC from Amsterdam. They are the experts that work with the UN, and they helped us identify those priority SDGs that CEMEX can go even further, not just business as usual, because we already contribute to the SDGs on our business as usual, but how can we go even further and not do this SDG greenwashing that sometimes might be easy to do. And we are also working on this year on how our employees can integrate the 5 priority SDGs to their work, to their daily work, even if they don't work in sustainability areas, and also to their day-to-day life, something similar to the Good Life Goals. If you Google Good Life Goals, it's like 17 ways that you can integrate these goals to your life, like recycle or help communities that are vulnerable. And Sarah, regarding your question on how are we progressing, I think we have to really move and act on topics as gender equality. It's really lagging behind. And there are some goals that are progressing more than others, but we really need to invest time and financial resources as a society, as government, as private and public sector to really achieve the goals to 2030.
Ali, you had a question?
Yeah. What's been your favorite project that you've worked on? And also, what kind of projects are you working on specifically right now?
One of my favorite projects and the most challenging, I think, is it's diversity, because it sounds so easy, but it's so challenging because you have to really have people on board with the same mindset. So I got mad, and then I understood that men really think different. So that's when I started thinking different myself. So I'm part of this committee, and I'm active in really integrating what every people thinks, because we are very different. We have a lot of cultures in CEMEX, and we can use that to innovate. So I've been since 2016 working on the diversity and inclusion. Now that I'm not in HR as volunteering, as I mentioned earlier, and with the communities, I've learned that women are really the pillar of the family and of the communities, and they really go the extra mile to take care of their family. So I think that this is one of my favorite projects. We recently signed the UN Women Empowerment Principles, and I'm really proud of that because it took a lot of work with all of our executives so that they all understood and saw the benefit of being part of the principles, which are not only focused for women, they're for men as well. It's just basic human rights. So I think this is one of my most exciting projects. And also I have 3 girls, so I have to lead by example.
And how has your work been impacted by the coronavirus recently?
The current one? Oh, no, it's crazy. I've been working like 24/7 from home. And since I'm responsible for communication, we really have to be, my colleagues are responsible for taking care of the communities. So we have to be in really constant communication. This thing is changing so fast. So we have to be every day alert on how can we improve the communication and connecting with the people in the countries that are in different phases. So it's been a lot, but I hope we can do together and with a lot of solidarity go through this. So we recently, and I was telling Ale yesterday, launched a challenge yesterday in social media, which is called Building Community Challenge, and it's how we as a society can share what we're doing from home to help the community. So buying locally or sending an email to someone that's sick. And we are looking to gather ideas of people because there are such great ideas that we have to get them together and replicate them in the countries that we operate. How are you hanging?
Yeah. Just to add to that, Denisse works with my brother. I have 2 brothers, an older one and a younger one. And Denisse works with my younger brother, Adrian, in CEMEX as well, at CEMEX as well. And since last week, he started doing home office. And I don't know, Denisse, if CEMEX has completely shut down the offices or if they're still rotating, like on Monday, only a few people would go, and on Tuesday, another group, and on Wednesday, a different group. I'm not sure if you guys are doing that already or if everybody...
Here at corporate, we've been in home office.
Okay.
At Central here in Monterrey, our jobs are very manageable from home. And we've been doing home office since 10 days ago. And I think I think today was the last day that people could go, and it was just like 20 people. And we're building about plus 600 people that go there daily. So the health and safety of our employees is a priority for us.
I have a question that's a little different. So I was reading about your work on like the LinkedIn page as well as just like the description, and I noticed that you have some experience at the Museum of Mexican History, and I think that's very interesting because I'm really into art history, and I took like AP Art History last year, and so my question is how.
No, keep going. It just kind of, I think the internet connection just kind of blurred it, but keep going.
My question is, how has your work at the Museum of Mexican History helped you with your current position as a part of the CEMEX business team?
Well, I love history and I love art. And that's why I started working at the museum. And this museum was created for our history. So it's a really interactive museum which takes you from all throughout the history of Mexico. And I think what I really got from that experience is I started connecting with people that came from different cities. So Monterrey, particularly, is in the northern part of Mexico, and it's really industrial, and it's really close to Texas. So we have a lot of people from the U.S. coming here. And I was like the PR responsible for all of the people that came here to invest. So that opened a lot of connections for me. And I think it helped me to always keep in mind the broader picture and to always having in my personal career path that I had to be connected to the world, to the whole ecosystem. And I think that's what I've kept throughout my jobs. And that's what I remember the most. And of course, we also did a lot of research on history and how the history you learn from history, not to make the same mistakes. Sometimes we don't learn from them, but we made like business cases. And I also love that from my experience there.
I have a question as well. So I guess on behalf of your company and also from your own perspective, so as a company that inherently emits a lot of greenhouse gases, but is also aware of this and prides itself on its environmental efforts, what message would you send to, or what advice would you give to other companies in your, or like private companies in your sector or outside of it, who really aren't making these efforts?
Personally, I think we should acknowledge that some companies and CEMEX acknowledges in its integrated report that we do pollute. We have dust and traffic and emissions, but we also do a lot in our sustainability strategy to compensate for that. So I think companies should have that in mind, and I think most of the multinational corporations do. In 2018, I had the opportunity to be part of the WBCSD leadership course, which is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and I was really impressed with companies like Unilever or like Chanel or like a lot of huge companies which I had never had contact with are really, really committed with giving back. So I would just ask other companies to think about creating shared value and do stuff that helps the company, but helps society as well.
Thank you.
Ladies, I saw that there were a lot of questions on the list, so I don't know if somebody wants to like just, even if it's not your question, but maybe you want to ask that question.
No, this isn't on the list, but when I read your description, it said that you led a 6-month trip to Spain for an international assignment. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. It was 2016, and I was in HR. I was responsible for the leadership courses, and as I mentioned, I have a lot of connection with employees in other countries. And there was a 6-month international assignment in Spain, and I got asked to participate in the process. We were 3 people participating, one from Mexico. I'm in Mexico, but I'm in the corporate offices. There was one person from Mexico, the country, and one from the US. And when my boss in Spain saw me, she said, like, why are you applying? You have 3 kids and a husband, and how are you going to manage this? So I was like, I've always wanted to learn. I've always keep seeking international experiences, and I got selected. So it was a challenge because my husband had to be on board, and we were 3 months in Spain as a family. My kids were really, really little. They were like 6, 2, and a baby. and we went there during the summer. So it was 3 months that we were in Spain, and we lived a lot of adventures. And Adrian's, my friend, which is Alice's brother, had lived there, so he gave me a lot of tips to do with kids, because it is really challenging to live with kids in Europe. And then 3 months, my husband came back, because he came back to Mexico because my elder kid was in school, and I was flying back and forth. So I was flying like every 2 weeks to Monterrey, but I also had another project that was in Panama. So I really had great miles that I used after because I flew a lot. But I loved the experience. And when I was alone in Spain without my families, which was hard, I went to the museums. It's what really kept me away from missing my kids. And I worked a lot and also traveled with friends, which I had known when I did my internship, because I started in UK and then in Spain. So it was about 2008. I had really good friends in Spain. So that was like how I really managed. But I didn't want not to take the opportunity because I had kids. I wanted to still grow. And thanks to my experience, there was a lot of policies that were changed in the company, so that you can also support this type of international experiences for executives.
Hi, Kelly. You just joined us. Can you hear us? Maybe not. Microphone.
Oh, wait, hello?
Oh, hi, Kelly.
Hi, sorry, I joined late because I set an alarm for 6, but I completely forgot to set an alarm for 7 when we changed the meeting time. But yeah, I'm so sorry, but now I'm on here.
It's okay. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So Denisse has been telling us a little bit about her experience, and I don't know if you want to jump in and just ask a question right now.
Okay, yeah. So can I ask a question right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. I guess I was reading a little more about the company that you worked for, and I just wanted to ask, how have you seen maybe like different countries work together to increase sustainability, like internationally?
I was telling your colleagues that I've been in the area for 3 years. I was previously in HR, and there is so much going on sustainability globally, and I see really committed companies with the world. I think we need to act together, and the UN, the 2030 Agenda, is really a very practical guide for all of us to speak the same language, to focus on the same efforts, and continue working, but making it in a sustainable way. So I do see a lot of awareness out there.
Okay, yeah, that was really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have another question? Well, while you guys are thinking, I want to ask Denisse something. There was another meeting with her this morning, and she was talking about how Cemex used a type of cement in a mangrove to make it grow back again. And I was wondering, what country was that? Was that in Mexico? Was that in somewhere else? And how did that type of cement in Europe?
It's in Europe.
And what type of what did the cement do?
It's really innovative. So we have a research and development center in Switzerland, and these guys are really I love to speak with them because they're very creative. They're even thinking, they have cement that floats, cement that smell like vanillas for your store, and they have the cement that water doesn't go through, and they invented cement that actually helps to reconstruct mangroves. So there's a really cool picture in our integrated report from last year. If you can go into it, it's on our webpage, and you can actually see how they reconstructed mangroves with concrete.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies, any other questions for Denisse? We're good?
Thank you.
Okay.
I love speaking with you.
Well, thank you all, and have a good...
I'm so sorry I joined late. I'm really sorry about that, but...
Don't worry.
It's okay. I know.
Time-saving days.
Well, maybe this time, Kelly, we can say that the Mexicans were not late. Oh. All right. Okay, ladies, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.